She'd said her name was Kelly, or was it Carly? He couldn't remember, and he almost felt bad about it, but then again, she hadn't seemed like the type to want any more than a night's worth of fun. She was tall, slightly taller than him, with excellent legs and long, fair hair, and when she stripped off back at her place, her body had been so close to perfect that he'd almost lost his nerve. By the time her lips closed around his dick, though, he'd stopped worrying and carried on enjoying himself. She'd sucked him with voracious delight, tweaking his nipples and stroking his balls, her long hair brushing over his body. He could still almost feel the sensation of her tongue on his glands, and hoped his hard-on would have subsided by the time he got to Marco's place. It wouldn't be all that cool trying to struggle up the stairs to the attic with his record box, bent double all the way because he was trying to conceal the swelling in the front of his black denim cutoffs. Chaz cared about being cool in the way only previously uncool people ever did. He supposed he was passable-looking. He'd never been an unwashed, spotty music geek, just a scruffy, shy one. Joining the crew at Red Hot Radio had transformed his life to such an extent that he sometimes still found it hard to convince himself it was all real. At first, it had just been when he was behind the mic. During his weekly live broadcasts, he became a different person. On the air, he was tough, smart, never lost for words, filthy and outrageous. Red Hot Radio hadn't been short of what you might call adult content before he joined. He never minded admitting that. A lot of the midweek pre-recorded shows focused on the BDSM scene, or Japanese tentacle porn, or cult horror films, and there were frequent plugs for the local fetish and swingers clubs. Chaz found all that sort of thing fascinating, but his own show was more about the music. And, somehow, the way he talked about the music and the things he said on air seemed to work on women. He'd never dreamed of getting laid to the extent he was managing it these days. Kelly, or Carly, having sucked him to the point when he was digging his nails into his palms so as not to explode in her mouth, had risen up above him and asked if she could get on for a ride, and he'd flipped her over onto her back and slid all the way inside her. She'd wanted him to talk dirty, and he'd found it effortless, a stream of filthy consciousness he could direct into her ear while her pussy muscles flexed around his rod, and her nails raked his shoulder blades. It had worked for both of them brilliantly well.